Republican candidate for President Donald Trump officially accepted the nomination of his party, and yes, he is now in charge of the Republican Party, at their convention in Cleveland, Ohio. Here are some highlights from Trump's speech.
I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States. It is finally time for a straightforward assessment of the state of our nation. I will present the facts plainly and honestly. We cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. So if you want to hear the corporate spin, the carefully crafted lies, and the media myths, the Democrats are holding their convention next week. Go there. Here at our convention, there will be no lies. We will honor the American people with the truth and nothing else. Elite media and major donors are lining up behind the campaign of my opponent because they know she will keep our rigged system in place. They are throwing money at her because they have total control over every single thing she does. She is their puppet, and they pull the strings. America is far less safe, and the world is far less stable than when Obama made the decision to put Hillary Clinton in charge of America's foreign policy. I am certain that it was a decision that President Obama truly regrets. Her bad instincts and her bad judgment, something pointed out by Bernie Sanders, are what caused so many of the disasters unfolding today. This is the legacy of Hillary Clinton: death, destruction, terrorism, and weakness. But Hillary Clinton's legacy does not have to be America's legacy. The problems we face now, poverty and violence at home, war and destruction abroad, will last only as long as we continue relying on the same politicians who created them in the first place. A change in leadership is required to produce a change in outcomes. In this race for the White House, I am the law and order candidate. The irresponsible rhetoric of our president, who has used the pulpit of the presidency to divide us by race and color, has made America a more dangerous environment than, frankly, I have ever seen and anybody in this room has ever watched or seen. This administration has failed America's inner cities. Remember, it has failed America's inner cities. It's failed them on education. It's failed them on jobs. It's failed them in crime. It's failed them in every way and on every single level. When I am president, I will work to ensure that all of our kids are treated equally and protected equally. Communities crushed by our horrible and unfair trade deals. These are the forgotten men and women of our country, and they are forgotten, but they're not going to be forgotten long. I have joined the political arena so that the powerful can no longer beat up on people who cannot defend themselves. Nobody knows the system better than me. which is why I alone can fix it. I have seen firsthand how the system is rigged against our citizens, just like it was rigged against Bernie Sanders. He never had a chance, never had a chance. We are going to be considerate and compassionate to everyone. But my greatest compassion will be for our own struggling citizens. My opponent asks her supporters to recite a 3-word loyalty pledge. It reads, "I'm with her." I choose to recite a different pledge. My pledge reads, "I'm with you, the American people." We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. God bless you and good night.
Trump made it clear that he is the man to beat, so to speak, and literally that's true, meaning his opponent will be Democrat Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, who of course is a woman, will get her shot at things next week. She'll take the center stage at her party's convention. She, of course, will become head of the Democratic Party officially once her nomination is official and she has accepted it. Again, that's next week at the Democratic National Party's convention, which will be held in Philadelphia. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made another compelling video, a short speech where he calls out Palestinian National Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who is in the 11th year of power in his original 4-year term in office. The Palestinians still don't have their collective act together. There is no viable alternative or replacement for Abbas, which says a lot about the Palestinians since Abbas has never been a true partner for peace. For years, Abbas complained that the Israelis refuse to start peace negotiations that are unconditional. But for years now, Netanyahu, on the stage of the United Nations and many other places, has said that he is willing to meet the head of the PNA, which would be Mahmoud Abbas, anywhere, anytime, any place, and to resume negotiations unconditionally. He has said this for years. The offer remains open, and Abbas continues to ignore him while pretending and claiming to be an eternal victim.
President Abbas, since over the past several years you have refused to meet with me and sit down and negotiate peace, I hope you'll hear this message. First, your advisor, Sultan Abu Enan, recently called to slit the throat of every Israeli. 3 days later, a Palestinian terrorist turned these words into action when he slit the throat of a 13-year-old beautiful girl, Halel Yafa Ariel, as she slept. She was a little, innocent girl. She didn't deserve this. I ask that you fire this advisor because advocating genocide is not consistent with peace. Second, your party recently praised a terrorist on Facebook who murdered 24 civilians, innocent Israelis, in cold blood. I ask that you pick up the phone and instruct your party's social media manager to stop praising mass murderers. Impressionable children read these posts. They should be taught harmony, not hate. Such words seriously harm the chances of peace. Third, next week the Palestinian Authority will dedicate a monument to Abu Sukar. Abu Sukar murdered 15 people by detonating a refrigerator filled with explosives on a busy Jerusalem street. Rather than dedicate a statue to a mass murderer, I ask that you consider honoring a champion of coexistence. This will help educate future generations to love peace over war, compassion over violence. It will also help convince Israelis that they have a true partner for peace. Fourth, the PLO currently pays a monthly salary to anyone who murders Jews. This money provides direct incentive to commit terror. I ask that you stop paying murderers and instead use this money to fund coexistence education. Teach tolerance, not terror. Every Israeli and Palestinian child deserves a life of hope, of tranquility, and opportunity. I will continue to work tirelessly for peace. It's time that you join this effort.
Another sign that the Palestinians just don't have their act together and don't seem to show any inclination to getting it together exists in the fact that Hamas, the terrorist group, controls half of so-called Palestine. So you have two Palestinian governments. Which one speaks for the Palestinian people? While the Palestinian National Authority claims that they do, of course, Hamas claims that they speak for the Palestinians. Yet Hamas's position is very simple, at least where it concerns Israel. It's essentially death to Israel, death to all Jews. They claim that all of the land is only Palestinian, that they will never recognize Israel, and their doctrine even calls for good Muslims, quote unquote, to hunt down every Jew on the planet, regardless of their location, and of course, exterminate them. Now, is it possible to have genuine peace with a government or a group of people in power who hold such hate-driven ideology? The answer is obviously not. Yet the Palestinians themselves, they don't seem to care enough about their future to rise up and oust Hamas, and they don't seem to appoint any viable alternative to deadbeat leader of the Palestinian National Authority, Mahmoud Abbas. So this soap opera will continue. Abbas will either retire in the near future or perhaps maybe even pass away in office. But one thing remains certain. The Palestinians as a so-called people and budding nation are still, it seems, many years, if not decades away from getting their collective act together, if ever. Facebook, the online social media giant, has now started launching its own internet-based drones. Sporting a wingspan that is larger than a Boeing 737 aircraft, these drones, as Facebook likes to call them, provide internet services in remote locations. While the feature set of the internet access is currently limited to Facebook-centric offerings, Facebook has promised to open them up to other companies and even eventually give the engineering blueprints away, quote unquote. In the meantime, Facebook's rival, Google, is trying to achieve the same thing with a combination of drones as well as high-altitude balloons that are constant altitude balloons that again provide internet services to remote locations. That both companies have been testing their offerings in the deserts of Africa as well as in Australia.